afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff Morton, host of Let's Talk About It. Today, I have a very interesting show. I'm going to have two wonderful, remarkable women join me, Cami Brecto, and I'm going to have Tracey Flintoff. They'll be joining me in a moment. We're going to be talking about something that I have gotten so excited about. And for those of you who know me, I've been looking at all these alternative modalities when it comes to health and wellness for the last 10, 12 years, ever since stage 4 cancer. And I just believe that the God that I serve, the God of the Bible, is starting to release information. We've caught up to the technology to where stuff that's always been here is now being tapped into. And that's kind of what the show's about today. We're going to be talking about LifeWave Patches. But before I do that, and we're going to jump in because we've got a lot to talk about. And I wanted to let you know, for the last 3 weeks, I've been wearing these patches. They come in little packets like this, and we'll show you what one of them looks like here during the show. I've been wearing them every day for 3 weeks, and I've been looking at all of the literature and all of the information that I can find, and the testimonies from across the internet I've been listening to and watching, and I'm like, whoa, this is mind-blowing. But before I bring my guests on, I'm going to read this disclaimer here. It says, LifeWave patches are based on the theory of phototherapy. The patches are not proven based on conventional medicine standards and should not be used in place of medical care. In other words, I'm not a doctor, Cami's not a doctor, and neither is Tracey. If you have issues with your body, please consult with your doctor. But we want to give you some information that might help you make different decisions as you do that, okay? So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Cami Brecto. She is a wellness coach. She introduced me to the patches. I've known her now for, going on about a year now. And hi, Cami. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks.
And then
Glad to be here.
Thank you. I'm also going to jump in and bring Tracey Flintoff into the broadcast because we're going to talk about a lot of things today that most people are going to have a hard time believing. And I think when you hear Tracey's story, I haven't heard all of it, but she wanted to come on today and I wanted her to be here. But we're going to start off with Cami. Cami, can you just spend a few minutes talking about who you are, your life, and yada, 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 please?
Yeah. Well, I am a wellness coach almost by default. I grew up in a home where my mom chose to do things mostly as naturally as she could. And so that's been I've been a lifelong student of health and wellness, different aspects. Also a little bit feisty, and I don't like somebody else telling me what to do when it comes to something invasive, like putting something inside my body. So, and my mom taught me that growing up. And I truly believe that we are created to be well, and that mind, body, and spirit, the reasons that we are unwell have to do with things outside of us influencing us, toxins, traumas, different things, and even choosing to think thoughts that are unhealthy thoughts. So that is my framework. And I've helped people with autoimmune issues who the doctor said, you're always going to have that. And I'm like, maybe not. Right. And let's try to let's see what we can do, and not focusing on the sickness, but we're going to focus on healthy things and bringing your body the health that it needs to function properly. So that's my background. That's where I am from. So I learned about this technology through Tracey, but through a couple of other people. Tracey's husband and I were in a Christian business networking group, philanthropic group, and my best friend, we were headed towards more, but he was also the host of the group. He had a major heart attack when he was at the gym. He was also a chiropractor and had the philosophy of helping the body become well on its own. And so when he went down, of course, our whole group learned about it. And so Tracey and her husband Eric were like, we've got to get patches on Doc. His name is Dr. Alan McCord. So they through the channels, they got patches to the executive director of this organization, and they tried them and loved them, and then got them to me so I could put them on him in the hospital. And so that's how I learned about the patches. I had amazing results using them secondhand at first. That's not recommended, but I'm like, well, I'm kind of sneaking them on him in the hospital, but and I put them on him, took them off, and I didn't want to throw them away or anything inside the hospital, so I just like put them off the hospital. And I'm like, well, shoot, it's not transdermal. It's not like it's putting anything in my body. It doesn't interact negatively with any drugs. To me, it's like a no-brainer. Why not add more light to your cells and signal them naturally to do what they're supposed to do? And so I just thought, well, shoot, if they're good for him, they're going to be great for me. So during one of the most stressful seasons of my life, these patches found me, and I really do believe it was a God thing. It has become a great source of income. I have helped people by sharing this, and that's all it is just saying, hey, you might want to try this. This is a wonderful thing. Helped people around the nation with this, with the things that the doctor said that they're always going to have. And it's been an honor and a joy to walk alongside people and give them hope. That's my mission in life.
You know, I totally agree with that. That's kind of the backdrop of my whole world, is to make a difference for people, to just love people. I don't know, I wasn't always this way, but the more that I entertained the ideal of studying the Bible for myself, the more I realized how just incredible people are. And I became a lover of people. So I kind of get it. And then having stage 4 cancer, a brain aneurysm, and some of the things that I've gone through and survived, it's kind of a miracle that I'm here on 2 different levels. But as I looked around for all these different alternative things, because I'm a studier of the pharmaceutical industry and the petrochemicals and all these things that I began to tap into in the 1930s and 20s, and I went, whoa, this is how this is done, huh? So I really began looking for different things other than, the side effects and things that we have to deal with pharmaceuticals. And I'm not saying that they're all bad. They're just not something that I want to put in my body and have my body struggle. But now, Tracey, excuse me, Tracey, you introduced, when she was talking about putting the stickers on herself, I'm picturing her walking out of the hospital with stickers all over herself. But now you have some real life experiences with this, and if you could give us a background about how you came into all of this and how it's affected your life.
Happy to do that. And I have to tell you, like Cami, the patches found us, and they really came to our lives for my husband, who was in his early 60s. He'd had a spinal fusion surgery that was not healing. The doctors were sure he'd be great in 3 months and we could go skiing and by Christmas for sure, no problem. Well, guess what? 6 months in, and he was nowhere near being able to go near a ski lift. And just to get through the day was everything he could do. And he was in excruciating pain. And thankfully, over a dinner, and I do believe that this was a divine appointment, his best friend came for dinner as he told me to cancel his ski tickets for Christmas in Utah. And his friend was like, what do you mean you're not healed? This has been 6 months. They said 3 months. I can't believe it. And Eric said, I can't either. But it's my reality. And he said, well, I'm going to bring you some of these patches my sister sent me from Arizona. I've only used them a few weeks, but man, there's something about them. I'm sleeping, my brain is better, and my bum knee, it's not hurting me anymore. It's so weird. It has something to do with stem cells. I don't really know what it is, but I'll bring him to you. And thankfully, he brought him the next day. But here's the sad thing. He mentioned stem cells. We thought they had somebody's stem cells in these patches, and we were a little bit grossed out about that. So they sat on our kitchen counter for a week. And one night, 2 a.m, he was spinning in pain. I said, I'm going to go get those patches and let's see what happens. And he's like, oh, come on. You don't believe in that woo-woo. And I popped him on his back. And I kid you not, 20 minutes later, he was snoring, sound asleep. And I thought, I don't know, maybe he's just exhausted. But he got up in the morning and he got out of bed like a normal person, not like the 90-year-old man he'd been unfolding out of bed every day and limping to the bathroom. As he was halfway to the bathroom, he said, oh my gosh, my pain is gone. What are those things? I said, I don't know. He mentioned stem cells. This is all I know. And he's like, well, how long can I wear this? I said, well, keep it on until it stops. So by the time he came home from work that day, it had stopped working or was stopping, I should say. The pain was returning and he really wanted to put the other one on. I said, well, let's not do that till we find out more. So when I called his friend, he said, oh, I was supposed to tell you, you only wear them 12 hours on and 12 hours off. So by now we'd been about 18 hours. It's never going to hurt you. It's just that your body might stop recognizing that light signal and no longer do the impactful job that it's designed to do. And so he took it off, went 12 hours without it. We put another one on the next day and the same thing. He had a great day. And then he came home and he's like, man, I'm checking things off my to-do list. This is a man, very big job, lots of balls in the air at all times. And he's like, I'm more focused. I can't explain it. It's not only about pain, but there's more to this. And I was like, your brain, because I had been going through my own brain crisis. I thought I had Alzheimer's, but I was in the season of life change for women. It's not a joy, and nobody prepared me for everything I would go through. But I'd literally lost the words in my brain. I would see people's faces. I couldn't remember their names. I would look at the spreadsheets at work, and I didn't know what they were telling me. And I was losing my hair. I slept in 2-hour increments because the hot flashes were so intense. And I just kept praying and praying, please help me. And I'd been to 3 different OBGYNs over 3 years trying to resolve this, and none of them could really help me. They all wanted to give me hormone replacement therapy, which I know enough about the body, and the body is not designed to play tricks on it with things that are intended to seem like, real things in the body. So I had really been resistant because I knew of several girlfriends who got different cancers from doing HRT, and I didn't want to go down that path. But thankfully, here's the blessing of all this. I went to order these for Eric, and the nice sister that had sent these to his best friend told me I needed them. And I was like, but I don't have pain. Why would I need these? She's like, oh, no, this has nothing to do with the specific issue in your body. It has to do with everything in the body and homeostasis, balance in your body. And this patch can help you get back there. And it just sounded too good to be true, but I went ahead and ordered them. I ordered some for Eric, and then a week later or so, I ordered some for me and my mom. And very quickly, I started sleeping through the night. My hot flashes got under control. My words came back. The girls at work, now mind you, I had retired early at 56. I put in my notice 6 months before these patches found me because I just thought, I need to give up this job. I'm not doing a good job of it because my brain isn't keeping up with that very demanding job. And around 6 months, the girls at work were like, you don't need to retire. You're back. You're better than you were. You need to stay. And I kept, thinking about it. I think, I think the Lord has other plans for me. And I did not ever for a minute think it had anything to do with this product, but it just felt like it was time for a new chapter of my life. And as I started sharing this with different people in our family, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. Thankfully, we'd been using these for about a month before her discovery. And then the day of the surgery, that when they went in and did all the measurements, her cancer had actually shrunk. That doesn't usually happen before
No, it doesn't.
surgery. And that when we went in for the pathology with her surgeon 2 weeks later, he was showing us the imaging on the screen, and he said, and this is really interesting to me, because here's your mom's mass before the first day of discovery. Here it is the day we did the surgery, and look at how much smaller this is. And my mom and our jaws are dropping, and we're just like, well, that's really strange. And then it hit me. Stem cells. And they told me anything wrong in the body can be repaired. The body was designed that way. Very intelligent design, this good old machine we have. And so then I asked that, oncology surgeon, do you think that shrinkage could have anything to do with stem cells? And he said, well, of course, stem cells are very anti-cancer, but your mom's not had any of those injections. And even if she had, the good ones are not available in this country. She'd have to go out of country to get the good ones that have the ability to do this. And I said, yeah, but about a month and a half ago by now, we started using these things, and I lifted up my hair, showed him it on the back of my neck where I faithfully wear it every day. And I said, this is phototherapy, and it activates my own dormant stem cells. Have you heard of this? And he looked at me shaking his head. Never heard of that. Interesting. And I well, it's amazing. I sleep now, and my hot flashes are gone. And, I'm telling these things, and he's just shaking his head, and he didn't care to know anything more. And I just could tell, don't go there. So I let it go. And then I started sharing them with different people. And my father-in-law had been diagnosed with rapid onset Alzheimer's and lost all of his words very, very abruptly. Very smart man, very funny man. And I contacted a very dear friend, Dr. Harmon, who's become a very close person, and Cami's in my life. He is a brain doctor and very involved in LifeWave. And thankfully, on one of his podcasts, he included his email. And I emailed him and I said, here's the situation. My father-in-law, explained it all. And he, of course, replied with the perfect doctor response. I am not allowed to diagnose or treat. I just want to let you know. Of course, I'd always recommend you go to your doctor. But if this were my father-in-law laying in bed, these are the patches I'd use and these are where I'd put them. And I took his advice. And we started that. And 90 days later, this man got his words back. Pretty darn impressed when he called us down to the front of the sanctuary where they were sitting on Mother's Day. And he knew our names. And Eric and I looked at each other. We about cried. And that told us, we have our hands on something pretty big here. Well, my mother-in-law decided, go ahead and order me a few of those too, but I want the ones for pretty skin and hair. And little did we know that the collagen that those particular patches bring back actually helps with joint lubrication and ligaments and tendons. She'd been on a shoulder replacement surgery list for 2 years because of COVID. And 3.5 months later, called my husband at work on a Friday and said, guess what I canceled? I canceled that surgery. And Eric was, why? Why would you do that? You've been waiting. She said, well, it doesn't creak. It doesn't ache. The pain is gone. And I think it has to do with those patches Tracey got me. And Eric and I were both shaking our heads. How is all of this possible? I mean, every day it was like some miraculous thing. A friend or a family member was calling us. And so when Doc had his health crisis, I told Eric, we just got to get these on him. I really feel that this would help him. All of the, my brain came back. Your dad's brain came back. We got to put this on him. And lo and behold, finally we did get to do that. So it's just been a joy for me because very quickly my brain fog went away, my anxiety, I stopped crying for no reason. My hot flashes went away. I started sleeping. I started dreaming. And I tell everybody now, I have Academy Award-winning dreams. Every night they're vivid and beautiful. And I sleep with one between my eyebrows, my favorite, called Alavita. And it's decalcifying the pineal gland or pineal gland. People pronounce it differently. But that is the endocrine regulator in our body that controls melatonin, which is a hormone. I never knew any of this. I didn't know it was designed to crystallize and calcify to shut down the baby factory. It's part of Mother Nature's design. But in our country, we get it very radically and very intensely because it is that a gland is attracting chlorine and fluoride. And when those things get on there, it can be very, very abrupt, and it's not designed. The body never was designed for those chemicals. So for us ladies in modern day going through that change of life, it can be really hard and awful. And I now help a lot of people, a lot of my own girlfriends and I help get them off of their HRTs because I don't want to see them develop those cancers. There's a better way. And wearing these little Band-Aids is the way. It's a way for so many of us. But my list goes on and on. My bunion went away. I have no idea.
You know what? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about that. But I want to start with the first question, and I'm going to stay with you for a minute here. How long has it been now that these have been introduced into your world? A year, 2 years?
3 years is what we are at now.
3 years. And you also mentioned in one of the Zoom calls, because both ladies do a Zoom call on Monday night. They alternate. And we'll talk about all that. We'll give you the information a little bit later on. But Tracey, you also had a thyroid issue. And you were you on medication for all those 15 years?
15 years, I'd been on levothyroxine. And for my whole life, since I was a teenager, I've had hormonal imbalances, horrible cystic acne, and all that fun stuff that comes with that. But I also had a lot of fertility issues and miscarriages that were never properly diagnosed. And after your third miscarriage, then they can test you to see if you have a hormonal imbalance, which I was shocked that, these tests exist. And after the first miscarriage, we don't go look and figure out what's wrong. We have to wait for 3. But they put me on that levothyroxine after I did get my second beautiful life baby. I have 2 awesome boys. And they told me I'd be on that the rest of my life to help balance my hormones. But what I figured out was when I thought these patches stopped working for me, about 4.5 months in, I went back to my medical doctor, who knew all about these patches, by the way. I educated him because he couldn't get over the change in me in a few months after that I got on these patches. And he's like, "You're different. What's going on with you? There's nothing I did for you that could have done this." And I start educating him. Well, he's from another country. His medical training is from South Africa. So he's very open-minded to alternative, and he's seeking that. That's part of his being as a doctor. He wants to heal people. He doesn't want to put roadblocks up and, cast judgment and make people think they're crazy. And he's like, "Well, tell me more. Tell me more." And he's the one who told me. He said, "It's not that those patches have stopped working for you, Tracey. I believe those stem cells that are brought back in your body have actually regenerated your thyroid. I think you're over-medicated on levothyroxine. We are going to do blood work and rule that out. But that's my pretty strong hunch." And sure enough, came back. I was grossly over-medicated on that. And he helped me titrate or taper down. And in 3 weeks, I was completely off of those. And that was 2 years ago, August. And my hormones have never been more perfectly balanced. And I just so wish I'd had these so many years ago.
Tell me about the bunion, because you had one surgery. My wife has a bunion, and it's a problem. And she also has a thyroid condition. She's been on medication for years. But you had this one surgery, and you said, if I remember right, I'm trying to remember the Zoom call that I was on. It was very painful. You didn't want to do the other one. And then all of a sudden, LifeWave happened. What happened to that one?
Yeah, I'd had my right foot done. So I grew up as an ice skater and a skier. So since a young age, I've been in these tight boots, and that's just not how our foot was designed. And I had these horrible bunions, and they looked like little triangles in all my shoes. I mean, you could see me a mile away. You knew I had foot problems. And by the end of the day, I kicked my shoes off, and I was in pain, and my feet would throb, and I'd have to ice them. And I didn't know of any help besides pain meds, which I was not going to do. So I finally had that right foot done. I lived in a recliner for 2 months. It was terrible. I swore I'd never do it again. But my left foot was equally as bad. In fact, the doctor told me, "You pick which foot. They're both horrible, and you're going to need it for both." And I could never do that left foot. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I start wearing these patches, forgot all about these bunions. I can't tell you when the pain went away, but it must have been pretty early on. But about 9 months in, my good friend, she's 76 years old, and she called because they wanted to do the bunionectomy on her. And she said, I just came from the podiatrist, and they want to do that same surgery. I'm curious, do you think your miracle patches could help me with that? And I said, "Bunion? Oh, wait a minute. That's so weird, because my left foot, I should have pain, and I don't have that pain anymore." As we are on the phone, I'm taking off both of my shoes, and I look down, and my left foot looks identical to my right. The right foot had them surgically removed. My left foot, they've dissolved. They're gone.
Wow.
And I told her, yeah, these patches are going to help you. I'm telling you right now. So we got her using them. 3 weeks later was her follow-up appointment, and her doctor couldn't get over it. He said, the inflammation you had in your foot is completely gone. Your bones are restructuring. You do not need a bunionectomy. He said, if anything, we're just going to go in and we're going to clean up some of the jagged bones in that joint. So it saved her from a very painful surgery. And she's been pretty thankful.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all this information because I got excited. You know, I got to tell you something. It was because of you and the Zoom call last week. Now, I've known Cami now for a while. She's had dinner in my home. And I was doing something else, another modality. And I was like, it's kind of really complicated. It's technical and, it's frequency based. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. It was just, it was just very complicated for me. And I'm 66 years old. Managing a cell phone sometimes gets complicated for me. But when I watched the Zoom call last week and listened to some of what you shared today here, last week, I went, you know what? I flew to New York to help my sister out. And while I was there, when I wasn't working and fixing the house and doing what I was doing, I was back at the hotel room going through all of these countless videos on people who are using the patches from LifeWave. And I'm like, I'm listening to these incredible stories. I probably have listened to over 100 by now. But last week, when you talked about the bunions and the thyroid, what type of thyroid did you have? Hyper or which one?
Yeah, I had hypothyroid and I
Okay.
was on levothyroxine.
So when you talked about...
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I have a neighbor. We have a beautiful little beach house down in Olympia. I have a lovely neighbor, 76 years old, who's always worn turtlenecks for the last 25 years. And I shared the patches with her. She had Hashimoto's. Hers was a little bit of a different spin on a thyroid condition.
Yeah.
And 6 weeks later, she came to me wearing a regular T-shirt and not wearing her turtleneck, and was very excited to report her thyroid had regenerated, and the big goiter in her neck that was very painful for her to swallow for 25 years was gone.
6 years.
And so then I started thinking,
weeks.
oh my goodness, she's 76. She, in theory, should have many fewer stem cells than me at 56. Mm-hmm. And hers regenerated quicker than mine. So you never can tell the timeline on these things. And that's kind of the only tricky thing of this, is you just have to hold in there long enough until you get the result you want, because the body is very smart and it's going to prioritize what's going to fix first. But there are thousands of these testimonials. I share your absolute curiosity about them, and it becomes a little addictive, and it's so fun to hear them.
What happened for me was I'm sitting here thinking about this everything that I have to do to send these frequencies out to various people and record their voices. And I think it's a fantastic system, but I'm thinking, you mean all I got to do is take a shower, put a patch on, go to work? Is that really, that's what we got to do? So Cami, I want to jump back in here with you because you have been talking about patches since I've known you, various groups that we're involved in. And I see you with the patches, and then I would listen to the people and their testimonies, and particularly a gentleman by the name of Jay, who was talking about his mother. I've been looking for something. I'm going, God, you are amazing. What do you got for me? Where is it? I remember driving home one day and I heard this little whisper in my head. Why do you think I put oil in every plant? Well, it was for your body. I went home and I tested that whole thing. I'm like, okay, what about poison ivy? So I went and did a little deep dive on poison ivy. The oil in poison ivy kills cancer in the uterus. And I was like, get out of here. So I began to really focus in on the God that I serve and what he has created. And the more that I did that, the more I started seeing all these different things that are moving me away from the pharmaceutical industry. When I talk to my doctor about this kind of stuff, I might as well be talking to drying paint, because he's not a bad guy. I don't want to put a bad light on him, but he doesn't know any of this. This is not part of his training. But Cami, now you've got stories to tell as well. So what do you got for me?
I do. Well, just continuing on the thyroid issue. So Tracey introduced the patches. After Alan had his heart attack, it was about a month before I learned about the patches and was able to put them on him. So I was wearing them, like I said, secondhand on the way home. Normally during this crazy stress, I have a history of getting hyperthyroidism, where my body just starts dropping weight like crazy, and it's not healthy, and it wears out the thyroid. And so I kind of was on the edge and danger of that when the patches found me. And so when I started wearing the patches, I felt more of a sense of hope and more of a sense of calm. And since I've done the research on these patches and the peptides that they cause your body to make and the hormone balancing that they do, that is that it's perfectly natural. It tells your thyroid, tells your body to do what God designed it to do. So if somebody's thyroid isn't working properly or it's working too hard, it restores the proper balance to it with this beautiful light signal. So that for me was one of the results that I received personally. My immune system was, again, stress can cause your body to be more susceptible to viruses, germs, bacteria, any sickness. And I did not get sick for 2.5 years from the time I started patching. And I maintained a healthy weight, and my muscle mass, even though I went from working out several times a week with a personal trainer, eating whole food, plant-based plus fish, and to junk food, well, not crap, but eating at the hospital 24/7 almost, eating out a lot. But my immune system was rock star during this season of stress in my life. And then I cannot stress enough how much I am a strong, faithful person, and I clung on to my prayer time and reading scripture and wisdom in the mornings. But that bread per se had to last me all day long through the most difficult season of my life. And the sense of hope, the sense of peace, the sense of calm, the sense of strength through this crazy season, I cannot tell you how awesome it was to be rock solid in that storm. So it was kind of like the calm in the center of the hurricane. So stories to tell of other people that I've shared this with. Honestly, there's stories of prevention. So both of my parents are in their young 80s. Both of them have had 2 different kinds of cancer. Both of them Dad has had heart issues. And my mom has had a reoccurrence not a reoccurrence of cancer, but scar tissue growing in her intestines. And when I'm just so thankful, she has not had that reoccurrence since she's been patching. We've not had trouble with that. The aches and pains. If you look at my parents, now they do live a healthy lifestyle, and they're eating better than they used to. But I thought I grew up pretty healthy. Like I said, my mom is kind of a rock star when it comes to studying health and wellness things. My dad is more likely to go to the doctor and accept the Western medicine opinion. But I'm so thankful that both of them are patching and have been for a couple of years. My dad hasn't had heart concerns. They're strong, vibrant, healthy. They have fewer senior moments. Don't tell them that. But they're doing great. Like, my parents are rock stars. And so that is amazing. And then I've had the opportunity to go back to Alan's hometown in Idaho and share the patches with his dad, with his sister, with his family, and with people of the town. And here's what surprised me when I went back to this farm town America, right? I expected to see healthier people, in people who grew up on a farm and they're working physically for a long time. Maybe a few broken cowboys from one too many rodeos, but I did not expect to see what I saw, with more people in their late 50s, early 60s wearing oxygen tanks, dragging around on walkers. And I'm like, what planet am I on? Why are these people who grew up in the fresh air and sunshine so sick? And I talked to Dr. Harmon about that, and he's like, Cami, they've been crop dusted. Mm-hmm. And so then all of this comes up, where pancreatic cancer is high, and different types of cancers and different degenerative diseases are common in these areas. So in sharing the patches, we have had the honor and the joy of walking alongside people who have surgeries, carpal tunnel surgeries, who have recovered faster. I put a patch on Alan's cousin, who was literally in the ICU for COPD. It's a lung disease. And so the doctors told him, there's so much scar tissue in your lungs. Basically, we can't help you. Like, start gathering your affairs together. And with his permission, we put a patch on him. And the next morning, his sister called us and said, whatever you put on my brother, we want more of. He was doing so much better in the 12 or 18 hours since we saw him. And then he had a great night's sleep. He was on less oxygen and was oxygenating better than before. And so, and I just heard a few months later, he bought a boat. So he was out of the hospital, home, doing his life and living well. And that's amazing. Another elderly friend, that we stayed with when we were over there, she was losing her sight due to macular degeneration. And she has been patching, and the degeneration stopped when she started patching. So they go in every 3 months for checkups. The degeneration stopped in the first 3 months, and progressively has gotten better every 3 months, until at the last checkup, her doctor told her, you no longer have wet macular degeneration. So what an honor and a joy. I have friends with autoimmune issues who have that they no longer live in daily pain. The list goes on, and I'm just on fire and just on a mission to help people realize that they have tools to actually help their body get better, and they don't have to just survive.
You know, with the last 20 minutes of the program, we're going to kind of shift gears here, because I so get what you're saying. And I think people are so, I mean, we've been raised up for generations now to take a pill, drink a glass of water, take a pill, go to the doctor, get it cut out, and heal, and you'll be better. And I'm certainly not here to badmouth that profession. What I am here to say is that, what if Well, the what if is no longer a what if for me. I've cut everything else gone. I was doing the CBD oil, I was doing the frequency stuff, I was doing all kinds of things. I too was eating raw. I only ate fish. I remember when I went back to the doctors, they had the staples. I had 77 staples from the cancer surgery in my neck. And of course, I was eating raw. I was eating organic vegetables and no meat, no cooked foods, except for fish, because I don't eat fish raw. And I don't do sushi, okay? So when I go back to this doctor, who's a really great Christian man, it was a beautiful person for me. He goes, man, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? He said, I gotta numb you up because your skin has grown over all these staples. And so I started really paying attention to what goes into my body makes a difference. And so I wasn't looking for a quick fix. I wasn't looking for something that hit me overnight. I was just looking to learn how the body works so that I could do better with what I'm doing. Of course, I wanted all my sweets and I wanted my cookies. And my doctor told me for 10 years, you're on the border of type 2 diabetes. Then one day he says, well, you hit the border, you're over on the other side. So now I'm working on that. And I've really been focusing on that now for about 3 months, literally 3 months to say, okay, I'm done with this. But I've sat and I've, out of curiosity, started watching all these videos of all of these people who have these testimonies about these patches. Now, Tracey, maybe you can kind of tell whoever listens to this podcast a little bit about how the patches work. Because we had Dr. Harmon on last week, and he was wonderful. But people have a reluctance. What is that? Oh,
Cami's holding up a plant, photosynthesis.
Yes, right. We'll get there. I've gotten both of Dr. Harmon's books because I want to learn this. And I'm not trying to live forever. I'm just trying to live better. And without having an injection, these people that are injecting themselves, to lose weight and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm hearing the reports of cancers, all kinds of things that are almost in my mind, we're being killed off and we don't realize it. And we've been in this kind of mode for 70 years, 80 years. Now I'm looking at all these things that have always been here that are coming to life. And the conversation is, okay, just take a look at it. Just take a look at it. Well, I have, and so have you. Tracey, how does this stuff all work?
Well, the foundation of it is really photosynthesis, like what Cami was holding up there. Plant is all predicated with light. So light, a seed, dirt, a little water, and you have life. And our bodies are really not that different. So when sunshine hits our skin, it turns on photoreceptors that communicate with the body and tell the body to make vitamin D. That's actually a hormonal response, that vitamin. And so the patches were developed for the U.S. Navy SEALs 20 years ago. Those guys that push their bodies really hard, live on dark submarines, and they were really struggling for energy and a clear mental state of mind. A lot of them were in depression, and they were turning to caffeine and stimulants and, fortunately, amphetamines, illegal devices to keep them upward and mobile. And the Navy asked the inventor, David Schmidt, who had created some other amazing things for their wellness survival out of light. He's a scientist of light. He's not a doctor. And he said, all right, let's talk about another grant. So it took him 3 years of working, trying to figure out how to fit those lights in those submarines, which didn't work very well. And he got a dream that told him to try it as a wearable patch. And we've got nicotine patches and hormone patches and all these other patches. Those are transdermal patches. Those are patches that put something in the bloodstream, in the body. And that's not necessarily good either. But what he figured out was how to do it as a reflection of light. So what's in the middle of that patch is a little nanocrystal structure that makes a lattice fence. And that lattice is reflecting our own low-level infrared light back into the body at a different angle. And so if you can think of looking at somebody when you have night vision goggles on. You can see that light that's actually being reflected back into the body by the patch. It's called infrared light or bioluminescence. So you can see the night vision goggles, that animal or person out in the forest glowing. We can't see it to the naked eye, but you can capture it with a device like that. So very smart man. It's taken him quite some time, but he's come up with 10 different patches that we can use for different conditions, different things, different combinations result in pretty amazing things. The one I sleep with, like I told you, it raises melatonin. It also triggers a youth response in your body to get producing collagen again, hyaluronic acid. That's why women love this. They call that one the trophy patch because it makes pretty hair and skin and nails. But really the important thing that collagen does for the body is it's the whole matrix structure that keeps the body in check, in alignment. And that would be your joint lubrication, your ligament, your tendon. Has the body ability to do some pretty amazing things on the interior of the body, much more than just pretty hair and skin. So depending on what you have going, there's different combinations. We start everybody, I don't care if you're age 2 or 102, the most important one is X39. That is raising a peptide in your body called the GHK copper peptide. You might remember back in the 70s, people started wearing copper bracelets for health. And it's because of the scientists who discovered the incredible power and healing ability of that peptide. And it does amazing things. Cami was just talking about the fellow with COPD in the lungs. That copper peptide is very supportive to lung health. My mom has had a similar response with that COPD. Hers is now gone. But went one step further, her sleep apnea is also gone. And now she got to get off of that machine. So that's a pretty great thing. But that's the peptide power in the body. So each of these patches brings back peptides, hormones, systems, detoxifies. There's different patches for different conditions. And it's just a beautiful system because it's so smart. It's so natural. And now I mentioned age 2 to 92. One thing I do want to mention is this company will never do testing on anything, somebody under the age of 18. It's just not good medical practice, and most companies don't. But the check, I've always heard different doctors ask mothers, do you let your child go out in the yard and play in the sunshine? When they ask, is this safe for my kindergartner maybe, or, maybe who's on the spectrum? And that's the question. Do you let him out in the sunshine? What's that answer? The mom needs to make that answer, right? It's always up to the parent. I love that. That's the most, detrimental thing here is any of the damage that the sun could do. And hopefully, we're not leaving them out there too long, and we take, measures to protect from UV rays, but it's that good. The wholesomeness of this is pretty powerful.
Well, and copper peptide also helps your body respond to the sunlight and protects your body from those UV rays as well. So, how they say put, cancer-causing sunscreen on to go out into the sunshine. Well, we don't have to do that as much when we are using the patches. We're creating our own protection, which is absolutely fantastic. I just want to mention my grandson was sick last week and he was diagnosed with pneumonia. And they were doing all kinds of healthy modalities to help him. But one of the things that they chose to do based on my suggestion was to put the energy enhancer patches on his lungs and the glutathione patch. And that helped move the junk in his lungs and move his lymphatic fluid and also help him with bump up his antioxidants to go after those germs and viruses that were making him feel terrible. So he perked up pretty well after a couple days of patching. So it's pretty cool.
Well, I want to kind of show, this is what the patch looks like. It's really just like a Band-Aid, and they come in these little packs here. This would be the X39. I have several of my own here, the Eon. And of course, if you want to know more about these patches, you really just kind of need to reach out to me. My email is going to scroll across the bottom of the screen here in a minute. Cami's has been going on during the show, but we'd be more than happy to tell you about this. Now, I have listened to, let me tell you about something that happened yesterday, as a matter of fact. There's a young lady who I've known for many, many years. She's 51 years old. She has chronic. I saw her yesterday at our service, and she was in debilitating pain. I mean, she was moving, and she's been in a walker for many years now, and she's only 51. Mm-hmm. So as the day progressed, I made it a point to go by her house and her apartment and get her LifeWave, and I put the patch on her shoulders in the back. And later on that evening, around 8:00 at night, she let me know that her pain was 50% reduced. And she was on the phone talking to her daughter about that when I chimed in. I haven't heard from her today, but also I've listened to all of these videos of people who've had heart conditions. My brother-in-law, someone really close to me, has a heart condition. I have another person who was just diagnosed with cervical cancer, very close to me. You know, to get people to realize that whatever it takes to put this technology on your body and give it a shot, don't expect things to happen overnight, but expect something, because of the 100 or more testimonies that I have listened to over the last 3 weeks. I haven't heard one person say this thing is bunk, don't worry about it, it's crap, go away. I've seen people talk about restorative things happening in their bodies in every area. It doesn't matter what's wrong. People have testimonies out there, whether my hearing is gone, now my hearing's back, whether my heart's been disrupted, now my heart's okay. You know, you can't have a baby developing in the womb without stem cells. So if you can somehow reflect light back into your own body to produce your own stem cells, that's a win, 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 win. And that's why I'm so excited about doing these programs and doing this. I'm probably going to do an expose on this here on my podcast over the next 3 weeks, because this is, to me, a miraculous thing that has been released into humanity because of one man's steadfast pursuit of it. And now people are benefiting from this all over the world. I am just ecstatic about this for 2 reasons. I'm a survivor of a few things, but also I know that there's miracles in the God that I serve. And I believe with everything in my body that we have to be restored to what he's created, not necessarily what we've manipulated in his creation. That's kind of making us all sick. Whether it's the food, whether it's the medicine, we're sicker. I remember doing a research thing on when they introduced pharmaceuticals and petrochemicals. And I went, my God, we all got sick. We got much sicker. The nation got sicker. And then they came out and they said, these are the types of foods that you have to eat. We all got fatter. And then they started putting chemicals in everything. So now you got chemicals pouring into your body, whether it's your deodorant, whether it's your cleaners under your sink, or the food that you're eating. You've got medicines that are synthesized petrochemicals that have side effects. I watch these commercials on television with names you can't produce and side effects. The body's fighting the side effects. It no longer cares about your headache. It's got to attack all these things that are your body's rejecting. And I'm going, something is wrong with the way we've learned how to manage our body. That's why I'm doing this program. I am so grateful, ladies, to have you here. And as I've looked I had a website called Dirt Is Not Dirty, because God was showing me that if it grows out of the ground, it's probably good for your body. And I probably purpose it for that reason. And I started thinking about all this stuff, and I'm going, something's wrong. People have cancers across the globe. Our kids are being born autistic and all screwed up. And I'm like, this isn't the way it was 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. So thank God we have this product called LifeWave. I have people in my immediate family, if they would just go, you know what, I got to try this. I got to figure out where the money is to make this happen so that I can see how this affects me. That's really, I try not to get frustrated because I've been down this thing for 10 years looking for this. I'm not looking for anything anymore. LifeWave is the thing that I've landed on. It's something that God has put in front of me. I can't thank you enough for coming on here and talking about this and telling your stories. In just the last 5 minutes, I'm going to give each of you a couple minutes to get a final word in. And I just really appreciate you coming in here and doing this today. Thank you. We'll start with you, Tracey.
Well, I have to say, I just feel so grateful because I got my life back and I got my husband back, and we're able to go and ski and hike, and he doesn't go anywhere with pain meds anymore. We don't have to sit down every 5 minutes as we do Disneyland. That is priceless. And the things I've seen in my mom, my whole family, they're going to have better quality of life. This isn't living to a greater number. This is living better every day that we have here. And I just have a feeling that I am meant to help people understand this. And it's hard for me because I know what this does. I know the power of it, but my government doesn't allow this company to advertise in this country where this was developed out of San Diego. It's really sad. This can be shipped to 80 countries around the world. That's where this company sends these all over Asia, Europe. They're very big into different modalities. They care about health and people. Our country cares about Wall Street shareholders more. And I think it's really sad, but I feel empowered to have the greatest gift for the human body. And we didn't even talk about animals. Don't forget, they have cells too. And these really regenerate those fur babies too. And my own girlfriend had a dog that had gone blind. I told her, I didn't even know he had the eye condition. I knew he had terrible arthritis.
I remember that.
And his vision came back, and the dog started acting like a puppy again because the arthritis went away. When we get the toxins off the nerves and out of the joints, you don't have those painful joints anymore. Those are dogs and people. That's a changed life. So I'm just
there's a little dog named Rasco. I just saw him he's my sister's dog. And he's been in our family for a long time, but he's aged. He's got cataracts. And I'm thinking, it just reminded me that, oh my God, this could completely restore the quality of his life. I love that little dog. I got to spend time with him while I was in New York. But and I'm so glad you brought up the fact that our government doesn't allow this to come to market, which is shameful. Cami, tell people how they can reach you and get in touch with you, because everybody knows how to contact me.
Well, I did have my website, innovatecoachinggroup.com. There's a Let's Chat button on that website that you can sign up for a 15-minute coaching call, or just a call if you have questions, if you want to know if this is right for you, if you're curious. I'm very, very happy to take the time, because every human being is important and your story is important. And there's a reason that you're going through what you're going through. And I believe it's for your good and will be for other people's good. I'm on fire. I'm on a mission to share this and help people realize that they are empowered and realize that there's things that they can do. They are no longer victims. They can have the tools if they just want to grab onto them.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, I'm probably going to put together another show next week where I'd like to talk to people who have actually literally had these changes for the better. So I'm going to be looking for those people. Hopefully, maybe through you two ladies, you can connect me to a couple of guys, because guys are like, brick walls when it comes to this kind of stuff. But anyway, thanks again.
A little more skeptical most often.
Yes. Thank you. We're out of time. So folks, if you want to get in touch with Cami, you can just send me an email. My email is jsmorton@protonmail.com. These two ladies do a Zoom call. You guys alternate those Zoom calls every Monday and Tuesday night. Is that how I understand that?
We have a Zoom call every Monday night and every Tuesday night. Monday night is more of a short call, quick and dirty. We have a couple of people share their patching stories, but we try to stay within 30 minutes with time for questions, and afterwards questions after the 30 minutes. And then on Tuesdays, we do more of a deep dive, and we go heavy on the patch information. But that would be more your style, Jeff, like deep dive on the information. And those calls are about an hour.
All right, folks. So you have it. Reach out to me. I'm going to connect as many people as want to learn about this to Cami. Tracey's always going to be available. I'm actually a brand partner. I'm looking at this thing from a different perspective, and we'll do a show about how all of that works too. So this is Jeff. Let's talk about it. And I want to thank you ladies again for coming on and doing this. Have a great rest of your afternoon. And we'll be talking to you folks later.
Thank you.